Johnny Cage. The one. Round one. Fight. 8-1. Action.
What's up, Goofies? Welcome back to the channel. With how well the Scorpion comparison did, I figured I'll do another. With how popular Johnny Cage has been recently, it'd be a travesty to not compare his most recent versions. In Mortal Kombat 1, he is my main because of how stylish this man fights. He will dunk on you in the most sophisticated way possible, so this comparison will definitely be a fun one. Before I get too far, just a reminder to drop a sub. I always appreciate it and it helps support the channel. With that, let's get into the first comparison. As usual, we'll start with Mortal Kombat 11, then move on to Mortal Kombat 1. By Mortal Kombat 11, Johnny Cage is an older, more mature man. He has rekindled his love with Sonya and is raising his daughter Cassie. He's mostly retired from acting and stars in direct-to-VHS sequels to his popular Ninja Mime franchise. After a call from Raiden, Johnny helps Sonya's Strike Force attack Netherrealm. Sonya sacrifices herself, leaving Johnny and Cassie to grieve. Since the story involves past versions of characters, we get a nice contrast here. Past Johnny is the usual stereotype, arrogant and immature. The two Cages clash over their differing experiences before uniting to up Sonya. They get in a few scuffles before their fate is left unclear as Chronica resets time over and over again. In the Aftermath DLC, Johnny is seen defending his family from Shao Kahn. He's defeated and taken away to be tortured or bred. Quite the disturbing fate. His tower ending involved a younger Johnny gaining control of the Hourglass. After using all that power to make himself famous, he realized the dangers that his older version warned him about. Resetting time and letting everything play out the same, he ends his story with his Sonya surviving. With Liu Kang resetting time for good, Johnny has an entirely new story.
What in the actual fuck?
Good evening, Johnny Cage.
Since about a decade's worth of character development has been scrubbed in favor of a new timeline, Johnny is different but still similar in a few ways. Johnny is still a very popular actor and has entertained millions across the globe. He has a wife named Chris, but their marriage is struggling due to the arrogance of Cage. With the fame, he has acquired many riches and artifacts, one being Sento. Sento is an ancient blade with mystical abilities. Kenshi Takahashi seeks to reunite with his family heritage but is stopped by Cage. Soon after, Fire God Liu Kang, Bihan, and Kuai Liang interrupt and invite themselves into the Cage mansion. Johnny, understandably confused, thinks this is a ploy by Chris to make up with him. But a few ass beatings later, he realizes the severity of the situation. Cage and Takahashi have been recruited to defend Earthrealm in Mortal Kombat. From here, he befriends Kenshi and goes on an adventure to find Shang Tsung in Outworld. Some shenanigans happen, Kenshi saves Cage at the cost of his eyes, and the crew's imprisoned after being caught by General Shao and his forces. They all mope for a bit before deciding to escape and run free into Outworld. Cage helps capture Quan Chi, and they escape through the cover of the local festival. Upon returning to Earthrealm, Cage returns to his home in Malibu and deals with a nasty divorce with Chris. From one disaster to another, Johnny is called upon to help fight against Titan Shang Tsung. While not necessarily specific to Cage, Liu Kang sends a player to another timeline or the past, or the future. I'll be honest, I don't really know what happens here other than the fact that Liu Kang saves the player. The final cutscene is a dinner scene between our 5 main characters. Full of laughs, everyone reflects on their past adventures. Cage thanks Liu Kang for truly changing their lives for the better. A fade to credits happens and the story of Mortal Kombat 1 has been completed. Definitely a lot more here compared to Mortal Kombat 11, but is due to Cage's bigger role in the overall story. In his character ending, Cage decides to spread the good word of Outworld by creating a cinematic universe. He even recruits some of the Mortal Kombat champions to star in these movies. With this done, we can move on to the cosmetic side of these games. I finally planned this out better so we actually have some fits to compare. Johnny Cage has 2 sets of clothing due to the different versions of him in the game. They share the same gear, sunglasses, hand wraps, and belt buckle. While different, they are mostly the same with simple color variations. There's like 4 belt buckles that look pretty much identical. All the sunglasses look the same and hand wraps are the only difference. The outfits here are better due to the actual variety of the clothing. He has military gear, tuxedos, jackets, tank tops, ninja mimes, and even werewolves. With the amount of color variation here, it gives a lot more variety than other characters. Augments act the same, giving you potency with your customizability. All in all, JC is given some of the best cosmetics in Mortal Kombat 11. This trend continues in the newest installment as John Carlton is given the heat. So far I have 4 variations, but these variations carry. I have the basic shirt and pants, the athletic wear fur coat, and of course the John von Kladomskin. My favorite is the fur coat because of the... wait.
I drive.
Anyway, interesting fact about this newer Cage is that his face model is based on Claude Dom. The actor even voiced his skin, so it's a nice touch. With the amount of color variations these 4 skins have alone, Mortal Kombat 1 has great customizability. The only customizable gear are these sunglasses, and these sunglasses look mostly the same. I bought these from the premium store, and it works so well with the other fits. So far, JC has been great in both games, so we can move on to the real meat of this video, the combos. Being a character that relies on straight hands only, Cage definitely has some unique combos. We'll start with our favorite old man. The average run-of-the-mill 3-hit moves are here: punch, kicks, and shoulder bashes. Like I said, basic attacks that can be strung together to form something devastating. He does have a few aerial moves, but it's nothing compared to 1's version. I'm getting ahead of myself, but Johnny uses a lot of kicks to do damage. Low, mid, or high, nobody gives a good kick like Cage. My favorite combo is this spam kick. It does a lot of damage for the minimal inputs. Some of these combos utilize a Cage classic. Due to the green magic he got from his ancient ancestors, some of these special moves depend on it. Flippy kick is one of my favorite moves, and amplified it does a lot of damage. Another kick is the shadow kick, which has nasty range. Force ball uses more of this precious green magic and turns Johnny into Mario. This can either be a high arc or a low arc. The final green glow ability is the rising star, which replaces flippy kick. It's the same uppercut move, but happens a lot quicker. The kick is better in terms of style and damage. These next 2 abilities are similar as they replace the previous attacks. Stunt double adds Cage's double, which basically acts like a cameo fighter. He can grab or clothesline the opponent. Amplified, these 2 moves add good damage. Say Cheese replaces a good move to add a stun ability. Other than temporarily disorienting the opponent, this doesn't seem to add much. Similarly, throwing shade is a quick little distraction while you consider your next move. He has 1 counter move, which is him miming until catching the enemy's fist. Excluding 1 move I'm saving for last, the rest of these special moves are added combos. Caged, Rage, and Pissed Off are inputs that add extra punches to his moveset. Both can be amplified for extra damage. A cheeky trick is to use these moves alongside Brass Knuckles. Brass Knuckles work like Scorpion's Burn and Kunai, a damage modifier to help you finish fights quicker. But I know you've all been waiting for the infamous
Nut punch.
Honestly, what can be said that hasn't been said already? A staple as iconic as Scorpion's
Get over here!
This move is as devastating here as it was almost 30 years ago. Amplified, it adds a kick that sends your poor opponent flying. With Brass Knuckles equipped, I don't even want to imagine the aftermath. His special moves in Mortal Kombat 11 can be summarized by being mostly close range and relying on damage modifiers. He still has long range with his kicks and force balls, but he definitely is more of a brawler. Stringing these along with your basic 3-hit moves, you can get a nice combo. In terms of Fatal Blow, it lacks but is still nice. A few kicks are thrown and his golden trophy is used to beat them mercilessly. With that done, let's see what Mortal Kombat 1 has in store for us. Here is where my time shines, as I am a Johnny Cage main in Mortal Kombat 1. Just ignore my win-loss ratio, that doesn't matter. Anyway, Cage has way less special moves, but more combos. I think the system works better, but that's just me. The moves that stayed are Nut Punch / Ball Buster, Throwing Shade, a Rising Star, and Shadow Kick. They operate mostly the same here. Instead of amplifying, they can be enhanced. When enhanced, Shadow Kick has more range. Ball Buster gives you more time to add a combo after the initial hit. Throwing Shade does more damage, and Rising Star lets you do an aerial attack. The newest ability added to Cage moveset is Hype. Hype is a new mechanic that makes Johnny Cage a very formidable enemy. In basic summary, Hype is a meter that will fill under the right circumstances. Pull off a nasty combo, Hype increases. Taunt your opponent with a thumbs down, Hype increases. Do a dedicated Hype maneuver, the meter almost fills completely. The best comparison to this is Little Mac's meter from Super Smash Bros. Once full, the meter is ready to use. To activate it, simply do the Hype special move and a light is focused on Cage. From here, every special move will be enhanced and can be strung together very cleanly. With how strong some of his base combos are, adding Hype just seems like overkill. Overkill in a franchise where friends blow each other's heads up. Anyway, the best aspect of Cage in Mortal Kombat 1 are his 3-hit combos. While basic, they are very flashy and strong. His overhead kick is what carries. He keeps the same fighting style as Old Man John, lots of kicks and jabs. It can be summarized as punch, jab, kick, rinse and repeat until you win. What this newer Johnny has over his previous counterpart is the ability to fight in the air. This 3-hit combo will launch your opponent in the air, which gives you time to hit either aerial combo. Both do the same damage, but I prefer the first one. With this alone, Cage is more versatile in Mortal Kombat 1. You can also use this launching move to juggle around the other player, probably the quickest way to get them to leave. I managed to pull this off and made someone quit, so that is my crowning achievement in this game. Another thing he has over his older version is the Fatal Blow. I'll mention something about this again later. I'm sure a few of you can already guess what that is, but this Fatal Blow is a secret twist. If you hold on the triggers after activating the initial blow, Cage will dance. This dance acts as a counter and is unblockable. Let Johnny finish his dance and the punch goes right through the block. With the usual swagger of an exaggerated actor, he uses a camera to deal damage. With all the special moves, 3-hit combos, and the potential of a cameo, Cage is certainly more diverse in his newest outing. Real quick before I finish this segment, I forgot to mention Shadow Dash. Shadow Dash allows you to basically avoid an attack by dashing behind the opponent. You can enhance this for free by holding left trigger and you get a second little dash, I guess. Now we can move on.
Finish him.
For an Earthrealmer, he has some savagery in him. Across both games, Johnny Cage shares 4 fatalities and a lot of brutalities, so let's begin. For being such a geezer, Cage knows how to stay hip with the kids. Mr. Cage's neighborhood involves ripping the opponent in half and turning the remaining upper half into a ventriloquist doll. A bad joke is said before Tomato pelts the humiliated loser. A quick but effective finisher. The next one, who hired this guy, is more long-winded and references the classic uppercut brutality. Punching a head and spine off in one go is difficult, and all these failed takes prove it. Eventually their head is just punched off, leaving Johnny no choice but to throw it away. He also decides to flip off the crew. Not very nice. I'll mention his friendship real quick since these do not return from Mortal Kombat 11. He hits a jiggy and a 1-2. Half of the special moves can end in a brutality. It means that some of these are harder to trigger than others. Like mentioned before, the classic is a simple uppercut that shoots out the opponent's head and spine, leaving a fountain behind. Flippy kick will leave the enemy in 2 pieces as the kick rips off the front half of their body. Even the brain falls out, just real nasty. In this one, JC has a stunt double rip the top half of the enemy off, leaving their legs to walk around for a bit. Very reminiscent of Mr. Cage's neighborhood. The double slaps their head for good measure. Cage Rage ends on a brutal combo, pulling an Omni-Man here. Wait, was this foreshadowing? Their head is ripped off, again for good measure. So far, this one is my favorite. Throwing Shade's brutality is simple and it's hard to pull off, yet gory. The sunglasses are primed to explode, I guess, which sends pieces of the opponent's skull everywhere. Each grab has a unique brutality depending on the grab. Backwards grab starts off the same before JC shoves a mic pole down their throat. Not gory, but definitely gag inducing. Forward grab again starts the same before pulling out his second weapon. He will then beat the enemy to death with this and stab it into their head. The mime counter is a pretty funny one as he keeps up the act as he smashes their skull into a million pieces. Say what you want, Cage commits. Since the camera is acidic or something, the Say Cheese brutality ends with the enemy having their face melted off. We all know how powerful Nut Punch is, but I never expected this. Watch your family jewels around this guy. This final brutality is the only one not linked to a special move, and it starts off with this kick combo, and it ends with this. It's hard to tell what he does, but I think he signed his hand and stabbed the opponent with the pen. Either way, that finishes our fatal breakdowns with oldie locks. Let's move on to the younger era.
Finisher.
What Mortal Kombat 1 really improves on from the previous entry was the fatalities and brutalities. Some of these are straight up nasty, and Cage has a few of those. Let's begin. His main fatality starts with some praise towards your opponent. After all, not everyone gets to fight the Johnny Cage. He will then slam their face into a plaque on the ground, pulling them off while leaving their face in the ground. Cage takes a cheeky selfie. Shao Kahn in this example adds to the selfie by making duck lips. The next fatality is the gorier one, as it starts off with a shadow kick that sends the enemy into a sports car. They will then flop out, which gives Cage the opportunity to do this. With their 2 halves barely held together by some intestines, the car is sent off to crash and explode. Poor Melina. Since there is no friendship, let's move on to the brutalities. The classic uppercut stays, this time leaving some spine in the body. The shadow kick is given a proper send-off by allowing Cage to bisect the opponent, just perfect. This grab brutality is so specific that I could not have gotten it on my own. It requires Johnny Cage to escape a grab while pressing the right inputs, which is a very specific scenario. Anyway, this leads to a
Headshot.
This throwing shade brutality is easier, but not by a whole lot. The range on this is pretty short and it doesn't do much damage. If you hit it though, you are rewarded with a scene of Johnny Cage's makeup artist slicing and dicing at your opponent's face. This is very creepy to see, so I'm just gonna brush past it. The ball buster brutality has a very unexpected twist because Mini Johnny will jump off Big Cage's shoulder and explode inside of the enemy. Yes, that's right. I will let you do what you will with it. The final brutality involves shadow kick again. Instead of directly splitting them in half, this kick will just knock the upper half off of the legs. They even crawl in anguish for a bit. Just gruesome. That's enough of the brutal stuff, as Johnny Cage blew it out of the park with these moves.
So you're Hollywood royalty.
Feel free to curtsy, peasant.
It seems when NetherRealm was given the choice of having the fight dialogue centered around young Johnny or old Cage, they chose the younger one. It does make some bits meaningless, as it's Cage saying something silly and the opponent not understanding. I do wish he had more lines referring to his older self. It'd be nice hearing that version of Cage talking to Sonya, Cassie, Raiden, Kano, etc. But back to the actual dialogue, the same joking spirit is kept.
What you see is what you get, Featherhead.
I thought you merely played the fool.
Never change, Johnny.
Well, if it isn't Special Agent Takahashi of the FBI.
It's not funny anymore, Cage.
Seeing this new timeline only has a young Johnny, for now, it put more emphasis on his experience in the tournament. Cage thanks Liu Kang for giving him a new purpose, he flirts with the women, and jokes around with his homie Kenshi. For the new dialogue system, there being 2 lines instead of 3, I think it worked out. Cage is still his usual jokey self. He is serious only a handful of times. The serious moments fit his older self in Mortal Kombat 11 better.
Johnny Cage wins.
Johnny Cage wins.
Being a staple character since the early 90s, he has garnered fans worldwide, both in the universe and in real life. While more abundant in universe, Cage is still raking in big numbers. Recently, with the release of Mortal Kombat 1, there has been a trend of putting international love by Pitbull over anything Cage does. It's mostly related to his fatal blow, going well with his dance, and subsequent attack. Since the initial memes, this song is now Johnny Cage's theme song. It went so far that some people started commenting it under videos not even related to Mortal Kombat. This is the most recent example, but I'm sure there are many more instances of Cage winning over his fans within his usual cocky swagger. It all comes down to this. Who is better? Wise old man Cage or immature young Johnny? I'm sure a lot of you are gonna say MK1's version, and I'm inclined to agree. I think he's a perfect mix of cocky Cage and mature John to add a unique spin on the character. He still jokes but has genuine moments. The best reactions are when he speaks to Liu Kang and Kenshi. This isn't to say the version portrayed in MK11 is bad or horrible. It's just that NetherRealm did a way better job of giving young Cage depth while still keeping the same humor that made us all love the character in the first place. Hope you enjoyed this comparison. Leave a comment down below about your thoughts or your criticisms. I'll make another poll so you all can vote on which character gets compared next, so stay tuned for that. I have another type of comparison planned, but it might take a while as it is a way bigger project. Thanks to those of you that have stuck around while I make a new type of content. I appreciate it so much more than you can know. Stay safe and goodbye. He's mostly retired from acting and stars in direct-to-VHS sequels to his popular Ninja Mime franchise. I'm gonna redo that. Past Johnny is the usual stereotype again. Well, not necessarily specific to Cage, the Liu Kang. Well, you can choose the character. Definitely a lot. And then his calc. He even recruits some of the Mortal Kombat champions to star as. He even recruits some of the. With this done, we can. But ain't no Johnny Cage using no. Nah, just cut that. Well, different. They are mostly the same with simple color variations, but ain't no Johnny Cage using no. Nah, just cut that. Well, different. They are mostly the same with simple color variations. You got some jackets, some sportswear, even Jean Van Cladom. Say cheese. Amplified these two moves become pretty devastating. Amplified these two moves add good damage. Say cheese, this one, excluding one move I'm saving for last. Both can be amplified for extra damage. This move adds a deficit. Anyway, Cage has always had less. Hype is a new mechanic that makes you Johnny Cage. With how strong some of his combos, overkill in a franchise where friends, his overhead kicks, it can be summarized as punch. With this alone, Cage is versatile. I've gotten one quitality like this, and that is my crowning achievement to this day. I managed to make someone quit, and I got a quitality, so that is my crowning achievement of this maneuver. So that is my crowning achievement in this now. I managed to pull this, let Johnny finish his dance, and the punch goes straight. The next one, who hired this guy, is more long-winded and references punching a skull and spine off in one go. Isn't punching a head, punching a skull. Eventually their head is punched off, leaving Johnny with no choice other than throwing it at the camera. He also decides to flip off the crew. He also decides to flip off the double slaps their head for good measure. Very ripping. Each grab is unique. He will then beat the enemy to death with this and stab it. He will then beat the enemy to death with this and stabs it. Nope. He will then beat the enemy to death with this before... No. Since the camera is acidic or something, the Say Cheese brutality ends with their enemy. Talk about talent. Okay, there we go. After all, not everyone gets to fight. If you hit it though, you are rewarded with a scene of Johnny Cage's makeup artist slicing and dicing at your opponent's face. The ball buster, I'll let you do with this what you will. Hold on. The final brutality involves Shadow Kick again. Instead of directly splitting them in half, this cat... It seems when NetherRealm was given the choice of having the fight It seems when NetherRealm was given the choice of having the fight dialogue centered around young Johnny, since the initial memes, this song is now John. It's just that NetherRealm did a way better job of giving a young Cage depth.